and welcome to the University of Essex online graduation celebration of 2025. Each year we celebrate the fantastic achievements of our online students by awarding a prize to the graduate we believe has the most inspirational study experience. The Alan Jenkins Memorial Award is named in honour of our late Managing Director, who was the founder of University of Essex Online. Alan was inspirational, often without realising the huge impact he made upon those who met through work, both colleagues and students alike. He had great drive and enthusiasm, and it's that same drive and enthusiasm that has enabled each of you to achieve your personal goals and graduate this year. This award is about recognising the student who we feel most embodies our values, who has overcome adversity and has an inspirational student journey which will both motivate current students and inspire future students to achieve. When the panel read the nominations for this year's award, we were moved by your hard work, the sacrifices that have been made, and the hardships some of you have had to overcome to continue with your studies, yet alone graduate. The nominations for this year's award were exceptional, but there was one nominee whose educational journey went that extra mile. It gives me enormous pleasure to announce that the winner of the Alan Jenkins Memorial Award 2025 is Ellen Ahmedin. After being forced to flee Ethiopia due to the war, Ellen resettled in Saudi Arabia, where she resumed her studies with the University of Essex Online while working full-time. In the face of displacement, personal loss, and a series of demanding career transitions, Ellen completed her degree in business and management with determination and integrity. Ellen's journey is a powerful testament to resilience, purpose, and the transformative impact of education in overcoming profound adversity. It exemplifies resilience and dedication, embodying the values championed by Alan Jenkins, and is deserving of this award. Congratulations, Ellen.
I'm incredibly honoured to receive the Alan Jenkins Memorial Award. Thank you for seeing something in my story and for choosing to hold space for it. There's something strange about writing words that are meant to be spoken on your behalf. You hear them in your own voice, but you know someone else will be the one to say them out loud. Still, if these words are going to stand in for me, then let them be clear, honest, and exact. I wasn't sure how to write this, not because I don't have anything to say, but because this award sits in a personal part of my life, and it's not easy to touch it without feeling everything all over again. I began university in Ethiopia. I was 18, hopeful and ready to build something of myself, but 2 years in, conflict reached the gates of our campus. I remember how mortified I was the day it arrived, how one of my classmates, unable to flee in his wheelchair, paid a price no student should ever pay. I still carry that. I don't speak about this to shame anyone. I love my university, I love my country, but staying became impossible. I had to leave behind everything, my education, my plans, my sense of home. I was 20 years old, suddenly displaced, and unsure if I'd ever find my footing again. I was working full-time then. I still am. When I started studying at the University of Essex Online, I was working mostly in digital services. It wasn't glamorous. I was answering inquiries, fixing back-end issues, doing small tasks no one saw. But slowly things began to shift. I moved into strategy, then into program coordination. I started supporting real initiatives, job fairs, entrepreneurship events, national projects. There were days I submitted coursework from the middle of a conference room, sitting on the floor of my laptop, and somehow it still worked, because the University of Essex Online never made me feel like I was falling behind. I still remember Ben from student support. I don't know how many times I emailed him during my first modules. I was anxious, second-guessing everything, thinking I missed something or misunderstood the portal again. He always replied like it was the first time I asked. And the student council I was part of, under Charlotte and Matt's guidance, who really cared. That gave me a sense of presence I hadn't felt in a long time. and more across-the-board support. Academic, admin, whoever I wrote to, someone always got back to me, like they were right there on the other side. I never felt like I was one of thousands, and it always felt like someone had me in view. I didn't realize all at once, but with every module, every role, every challenge, I became more capable, and the University of Essex Online was part of that growth and the entire way and changed the way I think. I remember one of my tutors telling me to resubmit an assignment because she believed that I hadn't used my own brain. Plagiarism. I was shocked, a little offended even, but I took it seriously. That was the first time I was told, you didn't think well enough, not you didn't write enough or you didn't cite enough, but you didn't think. That stayed with me. This was before the internet started doing the thinking for people. I'm proud that I lived the University of Essex Online experience before that shift. Our discussions and thinking were real. We came from different continents and still found ways to understand each other. We talked about leadership, context, communication styles, and I remember the exact moment I felt my classmates' presence, not just their posts. And the University of Essex Online showed up too. But the hardest part came later. In my final module, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. He hadn't been conscious in weeks, but 1 week he just was. I sat beside him in a hospital corridor, working on the final research submission, and I made the decision. If this was the last time he's awake, then he needs to hear that I finished. Because he always talks and jokes about us attending graduation together and exploring one of the first cities in England, Colchester. And he did. I told him I submitted my last project. I still remember the way his eyes lit up through his visible pain. He said, "Well done." The next day, he lost consciousness again. He passed away a few days later. I submitted my last assignment with one hand on the keyboard and one hand holding his. I graduated 2 weeks after we buried him. This award, you ask why I should receive it, but I think the better question is, what does it mean to give someone this award? This award is a belief in who education is for and who it supports. Alan Jenkins believed that access to education should never depend on where you start. He knew that success isn't always measured in ease or privilege, but often in endurance, grit, and quiet dignity. When I think of this award, I see someone like him in spirit. Someone ready to award not just achievement, but transformation, to honor students who had every reason to stop and didn't. And that is why this matters. To Alan Jenkins, who believed in second chances, in grit, in the quiet kind of excellence, thank you for holding space for people like me, for people whose success looks like just making it through. I also know there are students who've gone through things even harder, stories that are too personal to share or just not easy to put into words. I carry this award with that in mind, and I'm simply grateful to be seen. To the University of Essex Online, thank you for making it possible to grow in my work, stay close to my people, and still finish a degree I once thought I'd have to give up.